It's a very chilly and fresh morning here at Temple Lodge in London, which is just near Hammersmith, and you might be able to hear both aeroplanes going over, taking off and landing at Heathrow, I think, in a blue autumn sky. It's not coming up very blue on this particular smartphone. And just some very practical thoughts about restrainability. And if that's a new word to you, you might want to watch some of the other videos and read some of the writings that I've been putting together with my friend and colleague Graham Precey. And the 3 points here, and maybe there's a fourth, are around some decisions you can make if you want to practice restrainability. Now, restrainability as a term, and I'll just be brief about this, sits alongside a term you may have heard of more, which is sustainability. And restrainability is, rather than being, I suppose, in the context of the unsustainable world, the whole environmental crisis that we're in, needing us to be more sustainable, which tends to be framed as cutting back and cutting down. Restrainability, which I think is a term that goes back a long way in history, and you can still find it in the philosophies and lifestyles of indigenous people. And we can always learn from our heritage and our history, and how that plays still into the present. Is being restrainable is about doing just enough. And so if restrainability feels like we're holding back, we are, but we're holding back positively. So what we're not doing isn't feeling to us negative. It's about thinking, feeling, doing just enough for the situation that we find ourselves in. And so the 3 points I'm referring to, I think, are 3 questions that you can ask yourself individually, although an organisation or a business where making decisions can ask the same thing. And you have to be very honest about these questions. So running alongside practicing and learning to be restrainable is also to be very transparent and authentic. There's no space for spin and hype in a restrainable world. So let's imagine we've got that and we have something before us that we want to do, which could involve something as simple as spending a bit of time on ChatGPT and asking it some questions, in the world of AI. And we've already got a lot of data and information that shows that even one prompt can use up quite a bit of electricity, because this has to go through very boiling hot data centers that are processing everything that we put into it. It's the first question then, which could be an I or a we question, is, do I need to do this? You might also say, is there a need to do it? So it might be that you're getting requirements from other people. You're going to be helping somebody. So that need is the need to help them, but it could also be to help yourself. It's something that you feel a need to. And if you feel a strong need to do something, then the restrainability response is to positively do the minimum that you need to do when you're doing that. So that's not about having a ChatGPT binge. That's about doing just what's required to meet that need. So that's, do we need to do it? The second question is, do I want to do it? And that actually, or do we want to do it? And that sometimes is detached from a need. And that can tap into your values, and it can tap into a sense in you of feeling drawn to do something, to say satisfy your curiosity, if we talk about ChatGPT. So you don't actually need to be doing this right now, but you're feeling a wish, a want to do it. And I think what you do have to do, if you want to practice restrainability over time, is just to inquire into where those wants are coming from. And it can be quite difficult sometimes to be honest when looking in the mirror and just say, I'm addicted to doing something. I'm doing it just because I can't think of anything else to do that might be smarter and leaner and use less resources. It could just be an old habit, and it could just be self-indulgence. And it could be just fun. I want to do it because I'm feeling a bit bored, I'm feeling a bit depressed, and this is going to make me feel happier. So it's something I want to do. And I just think that's where you have to be careful, and it's where restrainability does clash in a good way with sustainability, because I might want to do something and I might do a lot of it, but that might be the very reason why the planet is heating up. So the test of, do I want to do it? You could also add the question, but is it needed, or do I need to do it? And then the third question is, would I like to do it? And now that might sound a bit like, do I want to do it? But I think that's a bit gentler. And I think it's sometimes when the want isn't very strong and we're indulging ourselves and we're having a bit of fun, or we're just filling an hour, and it's quite a light want and we're simply not exercising our will and we're submitting. And that word I often use because I notice on platforms like shopping platforms online, is when you get these adverts, there might be something you really don't need and you don't particularly want it that much. There's just a kind of light sense of, but I'm going to press the button and get this thing anyway. It'll be a bit fun. Sometimes we press that button and we realise afterwards that we didn't want it, and not even mildly. We didn't really like to have it and we're wondering what we do, and straight away it goes in the bin. That particularly happens when we're over purchasing in shops. And so those three questions they're kind of questions of intensity about, is there a need, is probably the best way to make a decision about whether to act with restraint, because the restraint that you act with, which can feel very positive, is how do I meet that need? It could be urgent, it could be a real need, in the way that uses the resources that are needed. It could be physical, mental, could be energy resources, and it's a feeling of, we've often used the example, Graham and I, about filling the milk jug up to just what you need rather than overfilling it and pouring stuff away. So meeting needs absolutely says that we're not acting with restraint by holding back. We're absolutely committing to whatever it is we're doing. But the restrain-ability is we've got our eye fixed on filling up to just what we need in terms of effort and energy. If it's do I want to do it, the key thing there is not to kid yourself, it's to act with honesty, accept that this isn't necessarily meeting a need and that there are going to be consequences to using these resources. And in some ways then that can be the question of, I'm doing this because it's not a need, but it could be creating well-being in me, which is going to enable me to meet needs better. And sometimes that term's called selfless selfishness. It's where sometimes we meet our own needs in order to be at our best for the world and best for other people. So sometimes we might make decisions and not hold back, but the same thing applies, in fact perhaps a bit more, which is, again, what's just right in terms of what I'm going to use up in terms of resources to meet that want. And if you can link it perhaps to a future need, think a bit more in the long term that by doing this I'm strengthening myself, it's making me feel happier, it's making me laugh, it makes me a better person for other people, it makes me find out about stuff that isn't linked to a need now. I'm using ChatGPT to upskill or up-knowledge myself. I'm using it to develop something, and that can be in terms of flying to a particular country to meet people, to go to a conference, that you've got a strong, can be intuitive sense that it's not necessarily meeting a need in the moment, but it's an investment in meeting needs in the future. And finally, the third one, which is, would I like to do it, where there isn't really a very strong want and there isn't a very, very strong need. Well, listen to that. I think that's a car noise there. Is just to do with, again, it's not about making yourself miserable or anyone else, but sometimes it can feel so joyful to just use up the resources that you need and to get skillful at that. And sometimes to make a decision where you don't do something, but it doesn't feel like a no, it feels like a yes to something else. So I feel that I'd like to have that online. But actually, what I find I do instead is I go out, go for a long walk, bump into somebody and realise I'm glad that I did that instead of this. And I call that not this but that. That sometimes rather than just constantly pressing the purchase button, constantly going online just to surf the internet and use up resources, is not this but that. Is I don't feel I'm not doing that. Is I put my energy and curiosity and mindfulness and creativity into doing something, and I'm glad that I did that instead, and it used up less resources. So 3 questions. Do I need to do it? Do we need to do it? Is there a need for this? How strongly do we want to do this? And actually it's just a kind of I'd like to do it, but there could be many other things that I'd like to do, or could even be a want or a need that will, when I look back, will feel a lot better. And that's practicing restrainability.